Kalililo, thank you for taking time to speak to us. Just tell us about your story as a footballer. Starting off with your long-time ambition to be a national team player. Why goalkeeper? How did it all start?
I think it started from way back when we were still playing in the dusty roads in our neighborhood. I just had the passion for goalkeeping. Sometimes I would play as an infield player, but most of the times I would obviously play in goals. So I think my ambition as a goalkeeper started from way back when I was still a young boy.
Let's talk about your formative years, especially at Telesport Football Club. There you worked with Dean Mwinde. Just tell us what impact did he have in the goalkeeper that went on to actually play for club and country with distinction?
I think he did a lot, not only for me, I think for a lot other guys that we played with. With the likes of Lawrence Lubinda, Nefes Banda, Thomas Kazwe. There's a list that I can name, but he encouraged us a lot. He was like a father to us, so it was relatively easy for us to express ourselves, what we can do on the field, because he was a father figure for us at the team. And I think that is what we needed, just like any other young players need. He was there for us, so he did a lot for us to be where we were.
There's this story that playing for a lower division team, the infrastructure is not that great, the things are really not that great, but what was your biggest encouragement? And did you ever consider quitting or wanting to leave so early, especially when someone would be scouting?
I think firstly, to start with, football is a game of frustrations. You really need to be strong, not only physically but mentally also. So yes, there have been times that I have been frustrated, but thank God I stood firm. Coming to infrastructure, I think not only in Zambia but in Africa generally, infrastructure is something that is always a challenge. So we just have to accept, make do with what we have, and as long as you have a vision of what you want to do, what you want to be, you will not feel the impact of the infrastructure too much. But yes, infrastructure is a challenge in Africa.
Was that a big problem, learning how to dive? I know when you get to a higher level, they would say you need to diving law and things like that, and you're probably coming from a background where you didn't have a lot of grass around the goal area. How did that one work? How did we learn how to, regardless of that problem?
Not only around the goal area, you find the whole field has no grass altogether. So yeah, it's like I said, we have to make do with what we have in Africa. I just spoke earlier saying we started playing football with the plastic footballs in the dusty roads, any small piece of land that we can find that is empty, you would make use of. So really, to me, it was not much of a challenge to go into a pitch that has got no grass and playing, diving. Yes, diving was a bit of a challenge because the time that we were starting to play football, I think there were not too many goalkeeper coaches around. So you have to listen to what the one coach you have is saying. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but with persistence, I think we managed to go through. Yeah.
Let's talk about you playing in the Super League. Of course, Telesport, humble beginnings, one coach doing everything, and the dream was still firing away. You got to Lusaka Dynamos. What were the marked differences from Telesport to Lusaka Dynamos?
I think the difference was quite huge. For me, I was coming from that time a second division team. Telesport straight into a team that is playing the Premiership. So the gap was a bit big for me. But luckily for me, I received a lot of encouragement from not only the coach. That time I found Fred Miller was the coach. He was assisted by Elijah Shkwan. They welcomed me, they encouraged me, psyched me. I found senior players, Evans Kakuma was the goalkeeper at that time, who equally encouraged me a lot. So that somehow cushioned the impact that there is a difference. But it was a big challenge. Obviously, coming from a second division team, the teams that we would face in the second division is not the same opposition that you'd find in the Premiership.
And that's what I was coming to. Let's talk about the games itself. What were the issues technically that you were dealing with as a goalkeeper, second division, and immediately got to the Super League and you're like, wow, what is this now?
I struggled, I think, the first 2 games, but like I said, I received a lot of encouragement, and I was thinking to myself, hey, am I gonna make it? I still remember the debut that I made was against Ron United at Queensmead Stadium. We lost that game 2-0. But the coach kept encouraging me. We played Zamshu, we played a lot of other big teams. And slowly, I think I adapted. But it was quite a challenge for me, I must accept, yeah.
When you look at your background and where you're coming from, were there any issues that now the coaches needed to start emphasizing about the way you played and what you needed to do now that it was Super League? What was the real difference in specific terms?
I think I remember one significant thing that the coaches told me about. It was footwork. They told me I needed to work a lot on my feet. The usage of the ball when I have it on my feet, and crosses. They emphasized a lot on crosses. They thought I was not doing enough coming off my line to help the defense with the crosses. So those are the 2 major things that I remember the coaches spoke to me about.
So ultimately, you are now being taught that footwork becomes important, and at that time, predominantly Zambian football believed in a lot of wing play. Now, later on in your career, we learned that you became very good at your footwork and the like. What was the secret and what did you need to do to get to the level of fitness? Any extra training, any extra coaching, any punishment, so to speak?
No, not punishment per se. I did a lot of passing, especially before training. I still remember with the late Lloyd Mumba. He was my centre back that time. So would go in early, play a lot of footballs with the feet, and I think that helped me a lot because I couldn't see it myself, but the coaches kept telling me you have improved greatly with your feet. So I think it was those small things that we used to do, and obviously you need to concentrate whenever you have something that is related to that. So I think for me, it's the talk that the coaches had with me that helped me.
Let's talk about playing style at Lusaka Dynamos. Fred Mueller is the man in charge, and of course he comes with this big CV and is probably someone you'd see on the back pages and whatnot. What did it mean playing for Fred Mueller? What did he want from his goalkeeper?
He wanted a goalkeeper who will not stay on his line. That you always fight with him. Okay, he always emphasized to say, you don't stand on your line. If a cross is coming, you come for it. Any ball that is played behind your defense, you must be there to clear it for us. Now that is where that he emphasized about the footwork. You come in, you clear the ball for us, or you get us play. So he always fight with you as a goalkeeper. If you stay on your line, the crosses are coming. There's a splitting pass, you're on your line, you always fight with you. So yeah, he taught me a lot about that.
Now, a little bit told me that there was always a tipping point, even from your days at Telesport, where Kalililo wouldn't love the physical work sometimes. And how much pressure was that on even you and your psychology as a person to actually say, this old man is actually troubling me now?
Yes, I'll tell you one thing, Zita. There's no player who will come to say to you he loves physical training. There's not one player that will do that. Okay? But football being football, physical training, physical conditioning has to be there. Okay? So I was not an exception. Yes, I didn't like physical training, but I had to do it because it's part of football.
Let's talk about your move now. You moved to the Arthur Walter Davis Stadium, Power Dynamos, a bigger team, and of course comes with a lot of reputation, bigger team. Tell us about your arrival in Kitwe And why Power Dynamos at the time? What was the biggest motivation?
Power Dynamos, I think that time, I think up to date, it still has a good relationship with Lusaka Dynamos. So it's actually Mr. Anif Adams who called me and told me I'm supposed to go to Power Dynamos. That's how I left. That was end of 2003. I went there, I found the coach Ben Chile, assisted by Agrish Young. The reception was very good. At that time, the only difference that I could see was the level of professionalism that I found at Arthur Davis Stadium.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I think it was awesome. It was very well organized, and yes, you feel like you have to work.
More money.
Not only more money, the environment itself. I think it was very conducive. Coming from one experienced coach in Fred Muller, going to an equally experienced coach in Ben Chile, with a little bit more professionalism coming from the sponsors. That, I think, made me want to work, want to go an extra mile. It was a very good move, I must say.
Tell us about your involvement with the junior teams, and now it's about to reach the business end. How was the competition like? Who were you competing against to get that #1 jersey, especially for the junior teams of the national team?
That time we were with the under-17s, I think, at some point, and we were with Mike Songwe. He used to come from Kabwe. There was Ivan Smwewa, who I ended up playing with at Power Dynamos. Yeah, I think those are the two notable names that I remember playing against.
How was the competition? And just generally, when you're going into the hands of Ben Chile, what was the biggest demand from Ben Chile?
Obviously, teams like Power Dynamos, the first thing that they will demand from you as a player is that you don't drop their standards. Standards meaning, obviously, you have to fight for things like the league title. If there's any other cup, that time we had the Charity Shield, we had Mossy Cup, we had quite a number of cups running in the country. So they'll demand that you win the most silverware than any other team. That's the biggest demand that they will make from you.
Tell us, where did you choose to live in Kitwe? Because I want to ask about the rivalry then between Power Dynamos and Nkana as we begin to talk about probably your first derby.
Okay, I was in Ndeke Changa Changa, which is quite far from Uzakile, so I was safe.
But there's this story that you don't go anywhere near Usakile if it's the derby. Tell us about your first derby.
The first derby was a very good one for me. We played at Nkana Stadium. We won 3-0.
Who are you playing against? And just roll back the hands of time. Who was in your team? Who was in the Nkana team?
On my side, I think I had Lombe Kaluba. I had Chisimbewe, who I'm fortunate enough to be working with again at Red Arrows. There was Isaac Chansa. There was John Lomami. It was quite a formidable side.
And on the red side?
On the red side, I remember people like Douglas Chuaya, Ken Katala, there was Ken Kalale. It was equally a good side that time, Kana.
So,
but,
did you ever go to Usakile?
Yes, I would.
In the build-up, how would that one work out?
No, not when we were playing against them over the weekend. I wouldn't go there. But generally, I would go there, and I had friends there, so yeah, I would visit there.
And the relationship, the players, and when the derby was nowhere near in sight.
No, the relationship is normal. The relationship is normal until when you have to meet.
What was Ben Bafuchile's attitude towards the Quito derby? How
Obviously
would training be? And
no, training would be normal, but it's the talk that he would use. You can obviously tell to say the coach does not want to lose. He's not used to losing to this team. Besides, he was a kind of player himself at some point, so I'm sure he had a point also to prove also.
Let's talk about you now finally getting the #1 jersey for the Chipolo Polo. You make your debut under Kalusha Walia, and basically it's in the build-up to Zambia failing to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations in 2004. Just tell us your memories of that.
I received my first call-up in end of 2002 under Patrick Piri, but I never made a debut. I was in camp with the team that went to Benin, lost 3-0, I think.
Razak Omotoyos.
Yes, that era. So there was Davis, Piri, and Stephen Kabwe who made the cut for that trip. Unfortunately, I was left behind. Then, yes, I made my debut under Kalusha Walia, which was in 2004 against Togo.
Tell us about the debut. The build-up.
It's a feeling that you cannot explain much. It's a feeling that you have to feel. Excuse me. You have to feel to understand what I'm trying to say. But it was an awesome thing. I think it was very good turnout from the fans. It was a good crowd, and yeah, we can only thank God that we won that game.
Independence Stadium.
Independence Stadium, yes.
First time walking into that dressing room and you knowing that I'm actually playing today, what did Kalu actually tell you?
Nothing much. I think he made it quite easy for me. He just said to me, Basani, go and enjoy yourself. No pressure on you. Just go and play your game. Enjoy yourself. Okay? I still remember very well. Those were his words, and yeah, I thought I enjoyed myself.
Did that really help? As in, the person telling you that, and I know the stadium is full, and the whole country, all eyes on you, and they're shouting, I'm sure, Dennis Liwe, wearing shirt #1, Kalililo Kakonje. What were your feelings at that point?
I had goosebumps.
Is it normal?
Yeah,
do they really go away
it's
the longer you play for the team?
It's very normal, but you know, for me, I just thought to myself, I've waited for this chance for a long time, and he's the person in charge of the team, who was Kalusha Walia at that time. He's just asking me to go and enjoy myself.
Did it help that this is somebody who made his name at Independence Stadium and played there many times, and he's saying he makes it sound so easy? Did one part of you actually say that? What is this man talking about?
Yeah, I knew it was not going to be easy, but I needed to survive, because I had, honestly, I think I had put in so much work towards getting that jersey, and here's a chance. I thought I could not afford to let it slip through my fingers, so I knew that at the back of my mind. And yeah, I think we beat Togo 1-0. Jacob Mlenga scored, I think.
Wow, that's shirt #2. That's shirt #2. But you were young players in that dressing room, and you had a few experienced guards. How did that help, having the senior players? And the player that comes to mind is somebody like Mishek Lungu, who was given the captain's armband around that era. What were the issues in the dressing room at the time, where you've been brought into the team, and yeah, here we go?
Yeah, I think the senior players that time were very accommodative. The senior players that we found were people like Mishek, like you're saying. There was Harry Milanzi, there was Andrew Sinkala, Moses Chone. You know, now these are players that had at that time already played football at a very high level. So obviously they understood what it meant coming in, maybe for a debut or something like that. Then, on the other side, there was quite a number of us who were graduated from the under-23s. So it was quite easy for us to mingle around and chat around because we had people like Chris Katongo, Isaac, and a few other guys. Songwe.
And Jacob Mlenga as well?
Yes, and Jacob. So
Collins as well?
Yes, Collins. Yeah, you're right. So it was quite a number of us that were graduated. So it was quite easy for us to fit in, really.
Okay, now, that year, 2004, Zambia fails to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations, and it sees some of the senior players play their last games for Zambia, meaning there's a chance for Zambia to actually get some new brooms. Now, some fundamental changes made, and you being one of the younger players at the time is still in the reckoning. We go back to the Africa Cup of Nations in 2006 after missing out. Tell us about your involvement in that one.
I didn't make the trip to Egypt. It was in Egypt, 2006, yes? Yes, I think Kennedy and George Kolala were the two goalkeepers that traveled. Yes, quite all right, I played the qualifiers. At some point, I picked an injury. I was out of action for close to 2 months. I came back, I had to recover, so I was out of action for close to 4 months, really, until I got back to my normal self. So 2006, I missed out. I was with the team in camp, but Kalu told me, you are not the same. Okay, you need to work harder, get back to your full fitness, then we can consider you. At the moment, the two goalkeepers are doing better than you, so you recover.
Did you feel that was an unfair observation at the time?
Yes, as a player, I'll feel like that.
Because you played the qualifiers.
I
got you to the promised land and you're saying I can't make the trip.
Yes, I played the qualifiers, but as a player generally, there's no player who likes to feel, who feels good to be told you're not making the trip. Okay, so as a player, obviously I felt bad, but yeah, like we said earlier in the talk, football is a game of frustrations, so you need to be strong.
Was that the birth of the rivalry? Kennedy Mwene versus Kalililo Kakonje?
You can call it that, but I thought we had a very healthy working relationship with Kennedy. He's like a young brother really to me. So I went back to the national team. He was doing well. I encouraged him. I told him, no, if you're doing well, you're doing well. I knew my chance would come. Whenever a chance would come for me, I made sure I did my best. Okay, I made sure I did my best. So yes, I encouraged Kennedy, and he's doing well, up to date for the country.
Was it out of respect? He never actually came to get your number 1 jersey. Even when he was first choice, he still kept with the 16.
Maybe it was just a preference in numbers.
Was it a highly political issue during your time? Who wears which jersey number?
I think that time we would know who puts on which number. Okay, Chintu I think was 15, Kennedy 16, I was number 1, Isaac was 8, Chivuta was 14. I still remember the numbers quite well.
Jacob was 2.
Jacob was 2.
Milanzi was 12.
Milanzi 12. Until James took over 12. Shamanga. Yes.
Now, ultimately, it gave birth to a healthy competition that now sees you get your first professional contract. You got South Africa. Golden Arrows, that was your first pit stop. How did that move happen? And many a time we're told it's not easy to move from Zambia outside.
To move from Ndeke Changa Changa in Kitwe to Golden Arrows in Denver.
Yes.
Yeah, I was called in the evening. I think we played a game against Nkwazi. at home in Kitwe. Then I received a call later in the evening saying I'm the chairman of Golden Arrows. I spoke to Anif Adams. I'm sure he's going to give you a call. And you know, at that time I got impatient. After dropping the line, then I got impatient. I actually called Anif Adams and told him I received this call, which he confirmed, yes, so I'll call you tomorrow and give you the details.
You were on loan at Power at the time?
I was on loan, yes, from Lusaka Dynamos. So that's how he called me the following day, which was a Sunday. He gave me the full program, saying on Tuesday, after 2 days, I'm supposed to travel. And yeah, I went for trials, and I think they were happy with what I took there. And yeah, that's how everything started.
What were the demands? And I'm sure when you're making the trip, you must have been asking myself, this is a foreign country, what do they need me to do? What was going through your heart at the time?
At that time, I think I just wanted to go and do my best, because I knew I was going for a tryout. So I just wanted to do my best, and yeah, I knew that is a different league altogether. It's at a different level.
Would you say it was at a higher level?
Yes, a much
by the time you arrived,
a much higher level. Yeah. So I found Chintu there. I found Davis. So Milanzi was also there. So at least I had some Zambian community there.
What did all those three gentlemen tell you immediately you arrived?
The first thing is what I just said.
Who was the first person you met of the three? Davis?
It was
Milanzi.
It was Milanzi, because the hotel where I was accommodated was just opposite the flats that Milanzi was staying. So when he heard I'm in town, he just walked across ready to come and say hi. So Milanzi was the first person that I met. But what all of them said to me were more or less the same words. Here, football is at a higher level. It's at a higher level, so really you need to double your efforts, which I had to do.
Which you had to do.
Yeah.
Davis, let's talk about another goalkeeper. What was one goalkeeper's advice to the other?
Well, Davis, at that time, he had played a lot of football. And what he said to me really was, we are countrymen. Whoever does well will keep goals for this team. But obviously we have one thing in common. Let's make this team win.
And a birth of another competition. So how did it go? Did you unseat Davis?
I wouldn't say that, but I played a lot of games.
More than him, or equally?
For the first season, yes, I played more games than any other goalkeeper. We had another goalkeeper who unfortunately broke his leg midway through the season, Gareth Omshaw. So there was the three of us. There was me, there was Davis, and there was Gareth.
Let's talk about Cabo Zondo. He gets into the picture when you move to Golden Arrows. Tell us about your first interaction and first move from in the same country, so to speak. How did that one materialize?
You mean moving from Golden Arrows?
Yes, to actually Amazulu. No, moving from, sorry, you worked with Cabo Zondo at Golden Arrows. And what were his demands now regards you, Davis, and the rest of the goalkeepers? What was their playing style at the time?
Generally, the team, Golden Arrows, plays a passing game. So what the coach might demand from you as a goalkeeper is that you start the build-up from the back. Okay, you lesson on the long balls. So you have to build up from the back, which we go back again to footwork.
So it was easier for you to deal with that.
At that time, I had more or less mastered the footwork, usage of the ball when I have it on my feet. So on that aspect, I didn't have much of a problem. Also, you needed to play as a sweeper goalkeeper, right in behind your defense. So at that time, I thought I was doing a lot of things well.
Let's talk about training. Chess Sampama would be your opponent in training. Revered Zambian striker, needless to mention, big name in South African football. Describe the training sessions for us. Having to deal with Chess Sampama.
Yes, Dennis, I only met with him when I moved to Amazulu now. I met Dennis, very good man, may his soul rest in peace. Very good man. He didn't used to talk much. He was a man of few words, but he really encouraged me. But when he's your opponent in training, he was not so merciful.
He would make you lose your jersey. John Shoes Moshow as well. You played with him. Another person who,
another
unfortunately, has passed on.
Yes, another big name. He was actually my roommate when I moved to Amazulu. Shoes. He would always say to me, I've stayed in a foreign land before. I know what it means. You'll be my roommate. You know, he was, I think, the oldest player in our team that time. But when you're on the field of play, he looked like he was the youngest.
What was there a culture shock? South Africa, of course, we can't ignore the fact that they were coming from an era of racial segregation. And when you're coming from Zambia and going there for the first time, did anything feel un-Zambian-like about the place?
Well, to start with, everything is un-Zambian there. So, yeah, the difference is noted. Obviously, better infrastructure. A lot of things are very different, but I think the hostility was not much. The hostility was not much. I actually thought I had a very good stay in South Africa. I didn't have any problems in that regard.
Let's talk about your first Africa Cup of Nations appearance.
Ghana, 2008.
Yes. The frustration of 2006, you didn't make the cut, but 2008 under Patrick Peary, somebody you've known over the years.
Yes. 2007, November. I received a call from Zambia. Okay, hello, who's this? I said, this is the coach, Patrick Peary. Okay, coach. What can I do for you? They said, no, I need you to come into camp. We are preparing for the AFCON in Ghana. So they said, okay, no problem. Ask the association to send a letter and arrange for the tickets. I have no problem. That's my country. I'm ready to serve it anytime. Oh, okay, bye-bye. The preparations were very good. Unfortunately, we didn't do very well at that AFCON, but I thought we had prepared very well.
Qualifiers, top notch. Seemingly not very hard for Zambian teams to qualify for AFCON. And what was happening? What did you feel was the difference? Qualifiers, we did so well, and we got to the substantive tournament and we seemingly struggled.
It's very difficult, honestly, Zita, to pinpoint what was wrong. But according to me, I just thought the teams that we were facing had prepared better than us. Because in football, it's very unlikely that a team does not prepare well and they win. Yes, we had good preparations, but I thought teams like Cameroon, Egypt, I thought they were better prepared than us. That's the only thing that made us not to go far in that tournament.
Tell us the mind of a player, and Kennedy was playing those games. You're on the bench, second choice. Did you, when you saw Cameroon put 5 past us, were you envying, say, Kennedy? I think next game, what?
Yes, you see.
What was the feeling?
Every player wants to play. Okay, every player wants to play. every game. But unfortunately, football is about numbers. So only 11 at a given time can play. It's sad, obviously, to be on the bench. You are seeing your team lose, especially by such a margin. But
what was the talk on the bench? I'm just thinking, we're being beaten, and when you look left, you look right.
Well, obviously, the mood was not very good.
Scared?
You know, no, not
angry.
Not scared. Maybe
disappointed.
More of disappointment, yes. You know, you are approaching the 90th minute, maybe 85th minute. Then you see the 5th goal being scored. Then you realize there's not much of a chance for you to come back. So yeah, it was quite a disappointing game against Cameroon.
We played Egypt in that tournament as well, and most of the times there's this feeling that Arab teams are seemingly better than us. We've even called it an Arab jinx. Technically, what did the Arabs bring to the table that we're not very used to as Zambian teams or as a team and dealing with? What was your defense not doing that they would do in other games?
I think Egypt did not surprise us much. We drew that game 1-1, if I remember correctly. Chris scored for us. Okay, so I thought we were actually going to win that game. We missed quite a number of chances. There were good saves also from Kennedy on our side. So with Egypt, I think they did not give us much of a problem. Cameroon did.
But were you worried about this Arab jinx? And what was the talk from Patrick Peary? 5 in the previous game. How do you play the next one?
The coach did not have to say much in that game because as players we would talk amongst ourselves. So guys, we can't afford to lose 2 games in a row, especially from the margin that we lost against Cameroon. So there was just no room to lose again in the next game.
What was the issue? When you look back, why did we have a problem dealing with the toe and Joseph Desire Job?
Like I said, I think they were just more prepared than us.
More prepared? Would you say some of your teammates had goosebumps? Including on the bench, it was scary, it's national team, it was just difficult.
It's normal. In football, there's no such thing that I've played football for the past 20 years, so I'll go in without any nerves.
Especially for the national team, huh?
Yes, because that's a very big job to do. The whole nation is looking at you. You have to deliver for the nation. So you will be a bit nervous before any game. Okay? But because you have played football for a long time, so experience will overcome that. But you will be a bit nervous before the game. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how your first touch is going to be. But because you're experienced, that's the only thing that will overcome that.
Let's talk about it getting better. 2010, Zambia qualifies to the Africa Cup of Nations in Angola. And of course, Patrick Peary is gone, but Hervé Renard comes. But Hervé Renard still thinks Kalililo Kakonje should still be part of my plans. What was your first encounter with a Frenchman?
The first encounter was in Libya when we went to play a friendly game, which we drew 2-2. So yeah, that was the first time that I met Hervé Renard.
What did he say to you? More so that Kennedy was seemingly getting the better of you regards the first choice position, and it's something that continued.
I don't know what happened that game. Kennedy didn't travel. I was with Mike Poto, if I remember correctly. I played that game. It was one very good game. It was one very good game. So he said to me, he didn't say much. He just said, I want to have a look at all of you guys, so just go there, enjoy yourselves, and just show me what Zambian football is all about. So in that game, he didn't say much.
What was your greatest motivation in that game? More so that in your mind, there was this issue, okay, this is an opportunity to get back my number one spot in the team, in the absence of Kennedy.
Well, really, for me, I just played to do my best every time that I get a chance. If the coach thinks I'm the better person to play ahead of Kennedy, I'll do that, and I'll do my best. If he thinks I shouldn't play, I'll be there waiting, but I always make sure that I'm ready to play.
That was your attitude then. Now, let's talk about this one. 2010 Angola, Africa Cup of Nations, Zambia is drawn against Nigeria, Cameroon, and Gabon. And this time around, Kennedy is back, and yes, the number 16 is Heverena's first choice. A lot of people have said that Heverena was particularly very good at managing players. Now, how did he keep you motivated? More so that to say, okay, I've seen you, but I need to go with Kennedy. How much work did he need to do on you?
One thing that I appreciated about Heverena is his honesty. He would call you before the game. He would tell you, Kali, I'm going with you, but you'll be a backup keeper. Kennedy will be my first choice. Okay? You've been longer with the team than Kennedy, but I'm going with Kennedy. Okay? Which I appreciated because I would know.
Did he tell you where he needed you to work on for you to get
crosses? He would always say I didn't do enough to convince him on crosses.
Now, let's talk about the tournament. Cameroon is back again, and some certain Mr. Eto feels. I remember Zambia getting 4 points in that group. How's the feeling that for the first time we've qualified for the quarterfinals for the first time since Bloemfontein 1996?
It was a good feeling, but at that time, a lot of us had matured in football, so we knew we're out of the group stage, we're in the quarterfinals, but it's not enough.
What did we do differently? Is that you tested the bitter side of defeat, embarrassingly, against Cameroon 2 years before, but this time around we're going to play the same guys, and guess what? We conquered them. They didn't do what they would usually do.
I thought the preparations and the maturity in the players was getting better at that time. Because if you follow the progress, 2004 we didn't qualify, 2006 we qualified, we were out in the first round, 2008 we qualified, we were out in the first round, 2010. Now, all these tournaments have the same players. So I think at that time, it was the maturity in the players also that played a very big role.
Would you say you were slow learners with hindsight? That it took you 6 years? 6 years, your generation, took them 6 years to get Zambia. And for the country, we hadn't been past the group stage in 10. More than 10, actually.
Yes. No, I wouldn't say we were slow learners. We were actually very good learners. Okay? Because 3/4 of that team now, if you looked at it, was a lot of us were playing outside of Zambia. So I thought that was good for the nation also. What did
Heverena do differently? If you just compare in terms of the approach for the games, and one of our most important players was Renford Kalala in that team. What did Hev really do to the 2010 team? It was maturing, but it still needed a bit of work for it to actually get over the line.
Yes, one thing that I know about Heverena is his team must always be fit.
What did that mean in training?
Yeah, I'm sure you understand what it means. A lot
Extra
of conditioning.
running.
A lot. No,
And,
not extra.
and it was Patrice
He would-
Method was
yes,
doing
yes,
that side.
Patrice was the physical trainer. Not extra running. He would work within the stipulated time. He would tell you maybe we'll work maybe slightly under 1.5 hours. You work within that time, but you sweat. So that's one thing with him. His team will always be fit.
We were fitter in 2010,
In
more than
2010
ever.
In 2010, we were very fit.
Fitter than ever you ever felt wearing a Polo Polo jersey
I
or
was-
even playing football.
I was very fit.
Very fit.
So the whole team was fit. Very fit.
Okay, interesting. Now we get to the quarterfinal. Come back home. Heroes welcome. You people, the president gets to send you a plane, and you come back in nice suits and you go to State House. Let's talk about that. Was that your first time at State House, by the way?
No. I think the first time I was there was when I was with the under-23s. We had a good run with our under-23s. We missed the Olympics by a whisker. So after playing Ghana, I think here at Independence Stadium, the president gave us an invite. So I think that was my first time.
Felt like a hero now. 2010, for the first time. Again, it has taken, what, from 96 to 2010. How's the feeling in camp? And the young players now were coming through, the likes of Emmanuel Mayuka, William Njovu from the class of 2007. And now the team started molding, your generation and that generation, and coming together. Why, going into 2012, did you actually believe maybe if we pull it back a bit, 2010, if we didn't lose to Nigeria on the dreaded post-match penalties, do you think we could have lifted the cup then?
Unfortunately, football does not work like that. If you lose, that's the way that things were destined to be. That is why every time, as a soccer player, as a coach, when you step on the field of play, you should be ready for any result. You do your best to get the best result, but excuse me, but you should be ready for any result. Okay, so I wouldn't say we could have won the cup had we beaten Nigeria that time, but what I know is that we were doing very well that time.
What was your personal reaction when Thomas Nyirenda failed to score that spot kick? And the people around you, were you cool enough to actually see how others were reacting?
No, obviously, all of us were disappointed. I personally thought we did very well in that game. We deserved to win that game. Actually, we had more chances than Nigeria had, but yeah, it was very, very disappointing to be out like that.
Going into that game without Renford Calabar, who was our tormentor in chief and arguably our best player, how was the pre-match for the Nigeria game, and was it something that permeated through the dressing room, like won't have Calabar for this match?
Like I said earlier, I think the whole team was very fit that time, and I think William Njovu replaced him. He did very well for us in that game. I think Obi Mikeo didn't have much to show against William, really, that game.
I actually hear that Obi Mikeo had very special mention in the dressing room, in training, that we really needed to stop him.
That team had a lot of stars. Kanu was there, that tournament was there. So there were a lot of stars in the Nigeria game. But all in all, those are self-motivated games. So it was a team talk like any other. But the coach again did not say much, because I'm sure he must have known to say, we thought about the game 1,000 times before the actual game.
Tell us about 2011, we qualify under Dario Bonetti because Heverena leaves after that tournament. Dario Bonetti comes. Tell us about that episode and your involvement.
We qualified with Libya being the last game
At home.
In Chingola, yes, at Nchanga Stadium. It was a good run for us. We finished top of the group. Yeah, very good coach in his own way, also Dario. I think for the first time in a long time, we finished top of the group in the qualifiers.
His Italian philosophy, was it something special, or it was something that you have met before in your footballing career?
He's one person who's very good at game reading. So he would tell us, okay, we're using this kind of formation. Why? Because we're playing against, for example, Libya. So I think his biggest attribute as a coach is game reading. He's I think very good at that.
And he helped, how did he help you as an individual now? Yeah, working with him in training and just being around that vibe. And you said it was a fit team, it was a matured team. Probably that helped Dario Bonetti a great deal.
Yes, I think so. At that time, I think a lot of us were doing very well, wherever that we were. Brought together, I thought we were doing even better. So I think that helped the coach also. Yeah.
Let's talk about the return of Heverena. When you heard that Dario is gone, Rena is coming back, what was your little reaction when that news filtered through?
Well, there's nothing much that we could do about it, really. We were just
as a player, as in...
Yeah. Obviously, I was happy. He's someone that I had worked with before. So I was okay with him coming back. I knew his philosophy, so I knew I wouldn't struggle much to fit in. He actually asked me something when he came back. So I said to him, coach, welcome back. I said, thank you, Kali. Are you sure? So yeah, I was okay with him coming back. Yeah.
And this time, were you confident that maybe can please this guy? Second chance to please him and gave him a chance. Probably that's why he said, are you sure?
No, but like I mentioned earlier, Zita, with me really, the biggest thing that I always did in my playing days was get myself ready to play at any time.
So, at that point, we understand that Kalililo Kakonje, not fit, overweight, it's a disaster, but Heverena still wants his goalkeeper back to be back up to Kennedy Mwene. And then we hear that we need to make a trip to India to achieve that purpose. Tell us about that one.
India, in Goa, beachfront. Wake up 4:50, 5 o'clock you're on the beach, you are running, 6 o'clock you are back. That's in Sunday. There was me, there was Hichani Himonde. I think the two of us were fat that time. Right? We had put on a lot of weight. So Patrice would get us every morning. 5 o'clock we start running for an hour in the beach. We go, come back, 30 minutes going, 30 minutes coming. We come back, you shower, you go for breakfast.
What kind of breakfast?
Cereal and fruit.
You couldn't eat what you wanted?
No. He would call you, sit here, gets his food, go and get your cereal.
What was he eating?
No, but really, his diet was fruit and maybe a bit of bread and cereal.
Okay.
So
you would not be looking at the other plate?
We would. Hey, we would. You know, you see the guys are having nice breakfast and you can't because you want to trim down on your weight. You want to make the cut going to the Africa Cup. That is what the coach is. That's the only thing that the coach is demanding from you. He's saying we're here for 3 weeks. For the next 3 weeks, you will not touch the cakes, you will not touch the eggs, you will not touch any meat. This is your diet. So I was thinking to myself, it's only 3 weeks. It's only 3 weeks. So
21 days.
yes, only 3 weeks. After this, I'll go back to the scale and see what happens. So it's not easy.
Okay, now how was enforcement? It's because I'm sure your body would be craving for certain things. How did they keep food that you really wanted to eat, even illegally, totally away from you? What was room service told? What was the deal?
No. Now that had to boil down to self-discipline, personal management. Because I knew if I sneak in some bacon or something, I'm not doing anyone a favor.
And it was really tough with Hijani.
Yes, it was quite tough, but we managed, we survived, and the results showed. The results showed. I think.
How many kilos did you lose?
I lost about 6.
6 kilos.
Yes, Hijani lost about 12.
Never done before. But I want to ask you a question in reverse. How did we get to a point of putting on so much weight and we're still playing football at the time? Did you just pause for a minute and just...
Yes, I think I'll be honest with you, that time I was in Congo. I had left my wife in South Africa. So the food contributed.
There's nice food in Congo.
Yeah, there is good food, but you know how it is. If you don't have someone to prepare you a proper meal, the next thing would be going to a takeaway shop. You get this food. So really on that one, I can't blame anyone. I didn't manage myself very well.
The TP Mazembe management allowed you and Hichani to go and held on to people like Renford Kalava. And then it probably shows the amount of faith that Hervé Renard had in the two of you.
Yes, I think we had a very good working relationship with Hervé Renard. At some point, people thought we hung out together with him. So I was thinking, he's a coach. How can I do that? I understand. So yeah, I think he knew what we could do, and yeah, I can only appreciate that people like him would always give you a chance to be there.
We go to Gabon and Equatorial Guinea. First game, we play Senegal. But there's this story about your arrival, getting to your first hotel and changing hotels. What was going on right there?
I think the first hotel we got to was not very good. It wasn't very good.
I'll tell you the reason that I actually heard. I actually heard the first hotel you went to was owned by a Senegalese. So I hear you needed to be changed. When you say not very good, what did you mean?
I think the standard of that hotel was just not right. So we played our first 2 games from that hotel, I think. Then we changed. We moved to a much better hotel where, is it Algeria or Libya? Libya, I think, was accommodated. After they were out of the tournament, then we shifted camp. We went to that hotel, much better hotel. Yeah, I think that was it.
First game against Senegal. Papis Demba Cissé, Demba Ba, and that plethora of players that the Senegalese had. Someone who you were with in India, Hichani Himonde, now is in the starting lineup, partnering Stopila Sunzu for the first time. Personally, how did that make you feel seeing Hichani start ahead of Chintu Kampamba, who had played most of the qualifiers again, like you earlier on in
Chintu,
for the
my
2006.
roommates, yes. 2012. We go back to what we said earlier, saying the team was maturing. Okay, now here is a group of players who are in the afternoons of their career. Okay? You sit, you say to yourselves, guys, let's be honest with ourselves. A lot of us, this might be the last tournament that we're coming to. Do we want to quit? Do we want to hang our boots, our gloves without any silverware from the Africa Cup? Let's go and give this tournament everything that we have.
Those were the conversations we were having
Yes.
with who in particular?
As a team, you know, we always have like prayer meetings after dinner. So any chance that you get, be it at the training pitch, in the dining hall, you know, generally that was the language within the camp. We were saying a lot of us have been to 3, 4 African Cup of Nations tournaments. What do we have to show for it? Are we going there again just to participate, or are we going there to challenge for this trophy? Let's go and give this tournament everything that we have. We come back, then we see where it takes us. So that was the language in that camp, and it could be felt to say every one of us means what we discuss. There was a lot of synergy in that team.
Let's talk about it. It was a roller coaster game, tough games, but I just want to talk about the final. Now we get to the final. Kennedy Mwene is starting again. He's had a fantastic tournament, even saving a spot kick from Asamoah Gyan. But all of a sudden, we are now seeing Zambian goalkeepers, Omwene in particular, saving a lot of penalties, but our players, infield players, are also scoring them. What was the secret to that at the time, when you remember?
At that time, to be honest with you, Zite, I was asking God to say, my God, if not now, then when? Because everything from the first game that we played, from the first whistle of the final, I think everything was pointing towards us winning that trophy. So now when we got to the spot kicks.
How was training like with Davis, somebody you had played with again, but now he's your coach? Did it change how you interacted with each other?
No. I think very, very good goalkeeper coach, I must say. So he's one person that actually helped us. Goalkeeper fitness, in that aspect, I think he worked very, very hard for us. He had to be there for that tournament.
Now, ultimately, you've played together, saved a lot of penalties, and in your career, you've seen Zambia lose a lot of matches when it comes to spot kicks. And all of a sudden, we became very good, and we ended up winning the game via penalty shootouts.
Yes. Now
What was the secret? Would it have made any fundamental difference between you and Ken, or probably Joshua, who actually played?
You know, that team, that's why I'm saying there was a lot of maturity in that team. At that time now, I think maturity was at its highest in that team. Another thing that could have helped us more is, you know, we'd play penalties for fun after every training session, you know. You're in camp, you say, okay, come, let's go, let's play. Okay, I save this penalty, what happens? I'll get you a drink. If I score you, I'll buy you a drink, you know. Then 5, 6, 7 will come, okay, let's play, you know. Whoever wins, everybody has to buy him a drink. You know, then penalties come. So it was like next to nature when we were going into those penalty shootouts, really. That's why I had to say, my God, if not now, then when?
Probably, you're a gold medal winner. You've got it now on your CV, though you didn't play a game. But emotionally satisfied with the shift you put in for the national team up to that point?
Yes, I think so. We were still in Joburg. Heverena called me, you know. He was telling me, I respect you. I know you are senior to Kennedy, but I respect you. So I need to say this to you. I'm taking you to the tournament. I'm putting you on my list, but it's only because of the unity that you bring to the team. It's the language that you use in camp that brings the team together, why I'm carrying you. So I don't want you to feel upset if you don't play any game there. Kennedy is going to be my first choice. Are you happy with that? Then I said to him, no, in any way that I can save my country, I'll do that. So yes.
And that was the second time he was telling you the exact same words?
No. Sometimes he'll just explain why you are not being featured in a particular game. Now this was different. Okay, so in other words, I thought he was telling me, Mdara, Apamanje, this is the last tournament. So I said, no, I will go with you, it's fine. So I was going into that tournament, knowing very well, I'll only have game time if anything had to happen to Kennedy. Otherwise, I think the coach had a chat with me, so I was okay with it, really.
Let's go to 2013. Zambia needs to defend the Africa Cup of Nations. A couple of months later, we couldn't celebrate our tournament triumph. And we drew all 3 games and got knocked out in the first round. At that point, what was that telling you? As a person, because 2012 you won it, yes, and you were telling yourself, I don't have too much left.
Well, really, I think in all honesty, we could still have been in a celebrating mood.
Okay? In 2013?
2013. That was barely a year after we won that trophy, if I'm correct. So, really, yes, it could be that we didn't lose a game, so maybe our exit was somehow honorable that we didn't lose a game, but I thought we were still in a celebrating mode. That's why we didn't do very well in that tournament.
It was a tough game, and at that point, you then turned your club allegiance, you left Congo and came back home to play for Napsa Stars, and you had some dodgy games there, a lot of criticism coming through. Why is this man even in the national team in the first place? How were you managing that era?
I was in, not the afternoons now, I was in the evenings of my career. So really I knew. I came to join Napsa Stars from Mazembe, straight from the Africa Cup 2012. I came to Napsa Stars. Patrick Piri was the head coach then, assisted by Peter Kaum. I told them, Coach, yes, I'm signing with you, but after this contract, or even before this contract, I might choose to hang my gloves. And I said, okay, whatever number of games you can play for us, that is fine. So that's the agreement that I had with Napsa Stars. Yes, luckily we did quite well. They were calling us the KK11. We had the likes
the Galacticos.
Harry Milanzi, Linus Chal, Ian Bakala, Sipo Mumbi. You know, that era. So a lot of...
For the first time you're playing, this is the first time you're playing for a typical Madala side. And you'd put away the younger teams. What was the secret?
No, it wasn't Madalas. A lot of us were
still felt active. Like Madalas.
We were active.
All of you, almost evening of your career.
We did quite well. Eh? We even managed to win the Barclays Cup.
Yes.
So, yeah, I thought a lot of us did well. Then we started falling out now. You know, Linos quit, Milanzi quit, I quit. So, yeah, at least I left something for Napsa. I'm happy I left on a good note. Yeah.
Now, pretty much that's the story of Kalililo Kakonje before he turns to the tactics board. For how long did you think about coaching? At what point did it sink in and say, you know what, I want to be a goalkeeper coach now?
I think with me, it happened more or less automatically, because I've grown up in football. Everything that I've done has been related to football. So here I am. I'm saying I need to hang my gloves now. What else do I know to do better than football itself? Nothing. So what do? I have to remain within the circles of football. How? Okay, I'll be working with the goalkeepers. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that made me to start working with the goalkeepers, because there's nothing else that I can do better than football itself.
When you look back at your footballing career, you are a married man playing football. Ultimately, okay, you're still in the game, but ultimately, I'd like you to tell me what probably made you and your wife so strong in that long footballing career, and where you needed to play married man and father.
Yes, I think my wife is an amazing woman. Eh?
Tell us about the lovely lady. What's her name?
Annette Tembo.
My namesake.
Yes.
Okay.
I think firstly, what you need to have in marriage is friendship. It's friendship, and once you're friends, I think everything else falls into place.
Would she honestly get irritated about training, pre-season? You are this side of the world, you're in Congo, she's in South Africa. Did you need to pull out your best explanation kit?
Sometimes you have to do that. Eh? But really, I think throughout my career, she's been very, very supportive. She has understood my situations, and based on that, I've not had much of a problem, really. She's a very understanding person, so that to me has helped me to concentrate on my job.
Kalililo Kakonje, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.